Hello, welcome back to my little corner of the internet. I'm Katie and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tag that's been going around, and it's the eyeshadow palette tag. So I'm just going to be talking about some of my favorite and least favorite palettes. I do want to just preface this by saying no human needs as many eyeshadow palettes as I have. I have way too many. Sorry about the AC, but it is what it is. And yeah, I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes. I recognize that it's not normal, but I love makeup and it's my hobby, and that's why I wanted to start this YouTube channel. And I love it, so why not share it with people? That being said, my puppy is right here, so we'll see how this goes. All right, what is the newest eyeshadow palette that I have? That would be the Tartist Pro eyeshadow palette I got in my Boxy Luxe, I believe. July Boxy Luxe. It's quite pretty. I definitely would not have purchased it because it's, I don't know, you'll see I have these colors a bunch of times over, but it's a nice one to have whenever traveling's a thing again. This would be a good one to travel with. Huge mirror. And my oldest palette in my collection is very special to me, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of it because I'm pretty new to being into makeup. It's only something I really got into within the last 4 years. I never wore makeup before, like in high school or college. I just didn't, only for special occasions. But for my college graduation, my sister got me this Younique Moodstruck Addiction shadow palette here. She also got me like a brush and foundation, and this eyeshadow palette is just very special to me because it's from my sister, and it was the start of my makeup collection, and I just love that it's from her. The next palette is my most expensive palette, and that would definitely be my Melt Gemini palette. Worth every penny. This palette is $58. Yeah, I get that's ridiculous, but I did it. I paid for it, and I absolutely love it. This is like the most Katie ever, and I love it. By the way, Winnie's chewing on a bone. It's a horn, actually, a water buffalo horn. She's chewing on it. The Melt Gemini is without a doubt one of my best palettes in my collection. I use it a lot. It was worth it for me, worth the investment. And there are several colors in here that aren't replicable. Like the shade Mochi, for instance, is like this dingy greenish brown, and when you like swatch it out, see how it gets like greeny brown? There's just nothing like it else in my collection. I love it. Love it. And these shadows are just chef's kiss. Love my Melt Gemini palette. The next palette that I'm going to talk about is my most affordable palette, and this one is the opposite. It was $3, I think. The e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadow quads. This one variation is called Truffles. 10 out of 10 would recommend every single human you should get one of these e.l.f. eyeshadow palettes. They're really good quality. I cannot believe that they're $3. This is a great one because it's like standard. You could wear it work, special events, whatever, but it's really good quality, like incredibly pigmented. Let me just like look. It's good. And this is a really pretty shimmer shade. Quite nice, quite nice. Like, look at that. Check that pigment out. Can you exit the room, Winnie? Winnie? Stop. Come here. Come on. I had to get rid of that dog. She was making too much noise. Anyway, like I was saying, they have many colors. Some of them are monochromatic, some are more like basic neutral shades like this. Really recommend. They're high quality, like it doesn't feel like it's a $3 palette at all. Can you guys go into the living room and do this?
No.
Okay. Au revoir. The next palette is my everyday palette. What's an eyeshadow palette that I would use on an everyday basis. And for that, I selected the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves palette. I love it. It's so good. And it's an all matte palette, which I love. I like obviously wearing shimmer shades, but if I had to pick, I would pick all matte shadows all the time. Just love it. And this is such high quality, super convenient. Before COVID, I used to travel for work a lot, and this is a great one because it's work appropriate and easy to travel with. I just love it. Next is my most colorful eyeshadow palette. This is relatively new to my collection, and it is the e.l.f. x jkissa To the Rescue palette. It's so cute. It's my only, I guess, rainbow palette. Yeah. What's extra awesome about it is that it's all pit bull themed, because jkissa is really into pit bulls and dog rescues, and I am also very into that. Very big adopt, don't shop person. My puppy was rescued, and she is the light of my life. She's my gremlin. I love her so much. Smallest palettes are these mini Natasha Denona palettes. The mini gold palette, that's this one, and the mini sunset palette. I love both of them. I guess the mini gold palette here is my favorite because I'm a green eyeshadow lover. This one's pretty basic, so it's not my fave, but honestly, I just wanted to try Natasha Denona palettes, but I did. All her full-size palettes are like over $100. They're really pricey, so I just got these mini ones, and I like both of them. I don't really think that her formula, personally, I'm not an expert, just a makeup enthusiast, I don't really feel like her formula is that superior to other palettes that I have. So I'm glad that I just stuck with the minis and didn't go crazy and get like $100 palette that's like meh. But anyway, that's just me. And what is my biggest eyeshadow palette, like with the most eyeshadows in it? I think that would be my 30 pan ColourPop palettes. So I have the Bare Necessities palette, which is just gorgeous. It's all neutral shades, and they're such good tones for me anyway. I really like that there's a lot, like a whole row at the top of cool tone eyeshadows. There's definitely a bias in the cosmetics industry towards warm tone eyeshadows. It's very popular, but I like that this has some cool tones in it as well. It's just fantastic, and there are a lot of options. My other big palette, this is one of my absolute favorite palettes that I own. It's the So Jaded palette. It's a Kathleen Lights and ColourPop collaboration, and I just am obsessed with it. It's so me. I love it. There are a lot of unique shades, and it's colorful, but in the tones I like jewel tones and more grungy tones, and there are different textures. Like there are metallic shadows, glitter shadows, and then this is one of the ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I just really love this eyeshadow palette. I love it. Did I mention that? My palette with the best memories. So other than my first eyeshadow palette that I got from my sister, I would say the eyeshadow palette I have the best memories with is the Dream Street palette, also from ColourPop and also a Kathleen Lights collaboration. I love this Kathleen Lights x ColourPop eyeshadow palette because this shade right here, I believe it's called, yeah, Shooting Star, right here, is the first eyeshadow I ever hit pan on. And I just have good memories associated with this. Like, I took this eyeshadow palette to a really fun bachelorette weekend for Blake's cousin's now wife, but I feel like that's not a good description of her. It was like one of my best friends' bachelorette parties, and yeah, I wore this eyeshadow palette there, so I associated with that. And also I hit pan on this shadow, and I love Kathleen Lights, and I really like this shade here, what's it called? Kaleidoscope. Yeah, this is really cool because it's kind of green, kind of silver. I don't know what really you would describe it as, but it's kind of unique. And I don't have another shadow like this kaleidoscope shade. I really like it. Love me some Dream Street. I believe this palette's discontinued now, so it's extra coveted in my collection. What are some palettes that are worth the hype? Also, I know I'm supposed to pick one per category, but it's my YouTube channel, so no rules. Also, I'm a Libra. I'm very indecisive. I can't pick a favorite. So I'm gonna go over a couple of palettes that I view as definitely worth the hype. So first and foremost, the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing on my eyes right now, that would be the Jackie Aina and Anastasia Beverly Hills collaboration palette. Literally, definitely one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. It's so good. As I've mentioned multiple times, I love green eyeshadow and like mauve tones. This shade right here, Pinker, I don't have any shadow like this in my collection. It's awesome. Look at that. It's just like purple but pinker. And it's awesome. I love it so much. And then, okay, I need to get a wipe for my fingers. Wipe these swatches off. I'm all swatched up. I mean, that's pretty normal. I'm very obsessed with my makeup collection. I love it so much. It brings me so much joy to just like play. I can't even explain it, but I just love it. So anyway, as I was saying, I freaking love this palette. It's so good. Jackie Aina knows her ish. So there are several green shades in here that I love. This shade called Sponsored, this shade Dualas. I'm so embarrassing, but it literally is called Dualas. And then the shade Trust Issues. Ugh. Okay, so Trust Issues is in my inner corner along with Soleil right there. So it's like this peachy on the base, and then Trust Issues is like this white, but it has like a green duochrome shift to it. It's fantastic. So this is Trust Issues, and I believe she named it that because it shifts colors. Can you see? That was not a good swatch because of me, not the palette. Yeah, it's like kind of shifts. It's so good. This is the shade Dualas. go to Jackie Aina's YouTube channel, just period, if you've never, she's great. And also, you can hear her say it. But this is like a greeny gold, I love. And then this shade Sponsored is so good because it's a duochrome shift. It's like green and brown and purpley, and I just love it so much. Those are some of my favorite shades. I like every single shade in this eyeshadow palette, which is not always the case. So definitely worth the hype. I recommend that everybody grab it before it inevitably goes out of circulation, because it's a collaboration, so I'm assuming it's limited edition, but snag it if you haven't. It's the first on ABH palette I ever bought. I don't have any of their like classic palettes. As you'll notice, I'm a huge victim of parasocial relationships, and I buy a lot of collabs, so that's just that. I really like to support the creators that I enjoy watching. It's also one of my most used palettes, the Through My Eyes palette from ColourPop and I Love Sarai. Her name's Karen. She's so freaking gorgeous, for starters, and also just a really cool person. I love watching her, and I really enjoy her. I guess her boyfriend, Sebastian, is fantastic, and I love his podcast La Platica. And so this is a fantastic palette, one of my most used. It's a very me palette because it has the greens and the rosy mauve, and then there's a yellow, and I love it. I like the shade Flex a lot. It's unique to my collection. It's like a brown shimmer with silver reflex. It's really pretty and I like it a lot. What else? Yeah, it's just, I love this shade Canela. Where is it? There. But it's just a great warm brown. And I love this shade Sandalwood here. Just all around solid palette. If it interests you, get it if it's still available on ColourPop's website. I've had it for a while. The last palette that I believe is definitely worth the hype is the Another Dose of Colors palette, the Friendcation palette from Desi and Katie. Oh my god, I love those two. Desi Perkins and just Katie at Katie on Instagram. She's fantastic. All of them, both of them. They're best friends, and they made a collab palette together, and I am obsessed. Also, Desi is pregnant, and she's been very open about her infertility journey, and I just adore Desi Perkins. She is one of those people who is just a good soul, so creative and innovative with her. She definitely is one of the people, not everybody's like this, but she treats her Instagram feed like it's art. It's so beautiful. She's very talented, and I'm just so happy for her and her husband that they're gonna have a baby, and I'm by proxy very happy for Katie and June's because they're gonna be an auntie and uncle. Anyway, I love this palette. Very, very good. Obviously my favorite shade is this. It's called Dirty Money. It's like a green gold shade. I also have really good memories with this palette because Blake and I took a trip, like our favorite trip that we ever took was to San Francisco, and I wore this palette to Napa and Sonoma. So I had a lot of fun with Blake on that trip, and I wore this then. So it's definitely worth the hype. I love it. And also this shade right here, Just a Kiss. It's one of the most beautiful, here, let me just put it on my finger. Yeah, it's not really gonna show up, but it's like the most beautiful glitter topper to just pop on the top of any look. this is a great palette. 10 out of 10, would recommend. All right, now for the palettes that are not worth the hype. Let's open another one. Gonna need this. All right, so palettes that are not worth the hype. This next palette is definitely a high quality, one of the higher quality palettes that I own, but it's not worth the hype because I am definitely someone who I believe that my choices are guided by my morals and my principles, and I definitely gave in to temptations and just utter curiosity with these next couple of eyeshadow palettes. The first definitely not worth the hype palette is anything JStor Cosmetics. I just can't get behind him as a human, and I now kind of regret buying those. I thought, like, in my mind when I bought these like a year ago, I was like, oh, his brand is separate from his person, but that's just not true. And also that's white privilege, just completely at work, because I'm like talking myself into supporting an incredibly toxic human. So this is the mini Jawbreaker palette. It's gorgeous. And I do enjoy it, and I did enjoy it, but I don't recommend supporting JStor Cosmetics. If you don't know anything about him, just freaking Google it. I can't. But he's not a good guy. The next overhyped things are basically anything related to Jaclyn Hill. The Vault palettes. I got the, what's this one called? Bling Boss, the purple palette, because duh, it's my jam. These are all very pretty. I will say this shade Berry Treasure is a black with like purple glitters or like purple shimmer in it. I don't think it swatches very well. Let me try and pack it so you can see it better. On the eyes, it's definitely a unique eyeshadow for my collection right here. It's kind of got purple specks. I really do enjoy it, but not worth the hype. Again, she's definitely not in the same category as JStor. He's like trash human. He just is. But Jaclyn, she is just like a hyper capitalist and so rich, so flaunting her money, which, like, you do you, girl. I don't need to support it anymore. Hello, editing Katie here, and editing Winnie. I wanted to clarify a couple of things I said about Jaclyn Hill, because I feel like my explanation was a little dismissive and reductive. So, also, I would be remiss if I did not say JStor is also a hyper-capitalist, like, super rich dude. But anyway, yeah, so my thoughts are Jaclyn Hill. She's always talking about how her subscribers mean so much and like, just support me, blah, blah, blah. But at this point in her career, supporting her is just buying whatever she's selling. She doesn't really post all that many videos or whatever. So I just think it's important to note it's a transactional relationship, not a friendship, like she acts. And so I don't care or know if that's her intention, but it's certainly the impact of the messages she's sending. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying she tries to intentionally manipulate her fans, but she does. I'm just saying she does manipulate them. Anyway, I have so many thoughts on this, and I can talk about it at a later date, but I did not want to just leave it at how I said it. So Also, she uses vulnerability as a marketing tactic, and I think that is hecked up, and why I'm like, girl, you're a hyper-capitalist. Anyway. I also have the Armed and Gorgeous palette, Top Secret. It's a bit patchy. I definitely think that my Melt green shadows and the Natasha Denona one are, and even the So Jaded palette has green mattes in it. Definitely better than this freaking Morphe palette. Don't support Morphe, guys. Just don't. And then finally, I have the original Jaclyn Hill palette. As you can see, oh yeah, it's old. I kept this card. It doesn't have the names of the shadows anywhere, but you can see I've loved on it. Definitely used this palette a lot, but I've heard that the formula changed since this first came out. I've hit pan on 3 of the shades here, and they're good. It's a good palette. I don't know if it's worth the hype, especially not anymore. I wouldn't get the Jaclyn Hill palette if you don't have it. There's so many other palettes. Also, this is definitely just, if you cover up the bright pops of color in the corner, it's just a regular ass warm eyeshadow palette. Maybe this is my biggest palette. I think this is bigger than my ColourPop palettes. Oh well, it needed to be, and not worth the hype. But yeah, that's that. Fave from a fave brand. Oh, I could not make this video without talking about Alamar Cosmetics. I love Alamar. I think they are just the coolest brand. I love the CEO, Gabby, and she's just such an inspiration. Alamar Cosmetics is, there's just such a good meaning, and there's so much thought, and it's just a gorgeous brand all around. Alamar is I believe it's a neighborhood. If that's not correct, I'll write it on the screen, but her family is from Havana, Cuba, and Alamar is a neighborhood in Havana, I believe. So it's named after her home. She is a Cuban immigrant. I just love, you don't understand. I love their products. Don't have their other eyeshadow palette, but this is definitely fave from a fave brand. They're one of my favorites. The shade La Costa, it's so good. I wear it as a highlighter all the time. I love this shade El Malecon. I believe that's what you say. It's like this really bright, intense green right here. Oh, so good. So good. And then the mattes are just very solid. I really enjoy them. Definitely check out Alamar if you haven't. And I really do enjoy this eyeshadow palette and use it quite often. And now we are at the final palette of the eyeshadow palette tag. And that is my most used eyeshadow palette. I really had a hard time, not that hard of a time, but I was like, what eyeshadow palette do I use the most? I try to use all of my eyeshadow palettes. Obviously you can tell some I use more than others, but definitely my most used palette is the one I created myself. So I love this magnetic palette. It's great to travel with, and this is probably my most used eyeshadow palette. Excuse me. And it's truly a Franken palette in that I don't even really know what some of these eyeshadows are. I just have no clue what some of them are, but this is the palette I will take when I'm going to weddings. I used this palette when I did my sister's makeup for her wedding. I used this for my own makeup and another friend's wedding. Another friend, I did her makeup at that wedding, and I used this palette. I love it. A lot of these singles are from ColourPop. Like this is the shade, I believe it's called Bullseye. Let's see. Oh, Jesus. No, it's called Mr. Sandman. Oh, it's so good. It's kind of red, kind of purple, kind of blue. It just has a lot of dimension. I also really like this eyeshadow. It's from ColourPop as well, called Sideline, and it's like a green purple shift right here. Let me show you. Yeah, it's like green and purple. Oh, which is like perfect. Love it. Love it. And yeah, I just have like all the tones I love to wear. Mustard, bright yellow, green, purple, champagne, taupey shades. These couple of fun duochrome. Definitely my most used eyeshadow palette. I love this magnetic palette from Salt, New York. That was a rec from Samantha Ravendall, and it was a good get. But yeah, this is my version of the eyeshadow palette tag, and I hope you enjoyed it. I love talking about makeup in my eyeshadow palette collection, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like the video, press that thumbs up button before you leave. Please subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment and say hi to me. I would love to know who's watching this video, if it's someone from my actual life or even just random internet friends. I just want to know who's watching. So leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. No. Yeah, take this. Boob.